This video is going to be my reaction to the Lions' 33-28 win down in New Orleans in Week 13. So it was a challenging game to summarize for the fact that the Lions are up 21-0 7 minutes into the game. And then the lead is cut to 24-21 and 33-28 two different times in the second half. The Saints were able to get within one score. Lions are able to be clutching and get an amazing conversion by Jared Goff to Josh Reynolds to finish the game. I thought it was an interesting dynamic early on, not just with how the Lions were playing. I mean, it was a frenzied, fast-moving defense for the Lions, I thought, early on today. And then you got the other side of that coin in the second half. We'll cover that a little bit later. But the Saints fans were almost actually booing their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, when he came on the field in exchange for Taysom Hill and all that weird stuff that they do where they sub Hill and Carr in and off multiple times on each possession. But before we get to some of the breakdown about the flow of the game and patterns or sequences that I thought were important, Sam LaPorta showed to be a potential superstar talent today. I think he's shown that throughout the year, throughout all previous 11 games. But it's not just his 9 catches today, which I think came on 9 targets. He played fullback additionally today in an 11 personnel grouping at least 3 or 4 times. And the Lions ran this version of like split zone. It was like a design cutback, if you will. A very specific blocking scheme that I thought took advantage of the defense being in their nickel personnel. I can't wait to see the all-22 in the end zone angle, but you're talking about a guy who had 9 catches, 140 yards, played fullback at least 3 or 4 times, and I thought blocked well in those situations. I thought he was effective there. And then on Jameson Williams' 19-yard double reverse touchdown in the second half, I thought LaPorta did a fantastic job on the DN to his side, staying inside leverage to allow Williams as much space as possible to burst into. And he did. When he got the opportunity, that seam there, he burst. It looked like 3x speed. But back to LaPorta, the impact he had. Amon-Ra St. Brown only had 2 catches today. And I've never really seen that little impact from him, at least since I've been covering the Lions mid to late last season. I'll let some of the game stats flow here. I didn't see any loss in effort from St. Brown at all. That's non-negotiable for him. But the Lions needed great output from someone, especially on third down. And today, LaPorta provided it. 9 catches, 9 targets, some great blocking. He now has, I think, 64 or 65 catches in 12 games. Really boosted the Lions to this, their 9th win in 12 games. I thought there's other guys who deserve serious mention, and Jared Goff, and I'll cover that third down play a little bit more in detail later on. But on defense, there's some guys who I think deserve mention. Jalen Reeves-Maybin and Jack Campbell were sharp for most of the day. I thought Campbell was dominant early on. He had 2 TFLs in the first 4 possessions. I think he had 6 tackles and 2 TFLs in the first half alone. Jalen Reeves-Maybin had at least 3 special teams tackles on punt, and I thought he covered well on defense at times. At least once stripped the ball from Alvin Kamara on a third down or second down pass attempt. Additionally, the talent infusion that Bruce Irvin brought in terms of the pass rush, I thought was pretty obvious. You guys feel free to let me know if you saw the same level of effectiveness from him. Of course, he did get the penalty, spiking Derek Carr, if you will, into the ground on that 3rd and 17, which was, important because it gave the Saints another first down on what would have been like a 4th and 8. But his ability to win organically, I think, is important for this Lions team as it stands right now. Hutchinson didn't get a sack today. Romeo Okwara did, and Bruce Irvin did. Will Bruce Irvin be able to do this every week? I don't know, but he looks like a guy who can get pressure. And there's been times specifically in the last month, basically since that Raiders game, I guess, where the Lions have gotten very little, if no pressure at all. And Bruce Irvin, I thought, provided a spark today. Campbell and Maybin, I thought, played well at inside linebacker. I did not think Derek Barnes covered very well at inside linebacker at all. Let me get back to the offense, though. Talk about that game-sealing throw from Goff. I think LaPorta is off the field for that snap. If I recall correctly, he jogged off and Brock Wright came on for that 3rd and 9. I might be wrong. Feel free to let me know in the comment section. Anyway, it's just across midfield, I think, at the Saints 46. And Goff has to step up to avoid pressure. And as such, he actually steps into another defender converging. Takes a big blow, I thought, just after he delivers the throw. From the live broadcast, I don't know about you, I thought it was a low throw. just from the live viewing of it, I thought it was low. But Josh Reynolds won versus man. Saints played a lot of man, just like talked about in the preview that came out Saturday afternoon. That was a fun moment to watch for real for me on a lot of levels. Number one, there was the relief that the Lions won. Number two, there was the joy in knowing that Goff had just made a play on the move. I thought it was the third play he made, kind of shifting or moving around in the pocket to get the football out. And additionally, that was an opportunity for the Saints to get the ball back potentially, even though they were out of timeouts at that point. Could have been a devastating loss if the Lions were not able to close it out in that moment. Let's talk about it this way, that the margin for error is incredibly small. If the Lions don't get that first down there on that 3rd and 9, Saints get the football back, do you have much confidence that at that point the defense is going to be able to get a stop? I'll let that question stand, and then talk about the Lions defense in the second half here in a moment. But you can look at it from the other side of the coin as well. If Brian Branch doesn't make a spectacular effort on a 3rd and 13 pass from Jameis Winston with a little over 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, then Jerry Jacobs probably in zone picks that pass off, and I think he's got a clear path to the end zone for a pick six that I believe would have made it like 39-21 at that point. I think the score was 33-21 in the favor of the Lions. So the margin for error is incredibly small. He could have very easily had a 3-score game if Brian Branch doesn't make what I think is an amazing pass deflection that ends up in the hands of Chris Olave, gets him down to the 3. The Lions' defense, if you ask me, really let them down in the second half. Shouldn't be a surprise to some level. Saints scored on 3 of 5 possessions in the second half, and really you have the fumble in the opening play of the fourth quarter. So essentially they were only stopped once in the second half, they being the Saints offense. And that was with Jameis Winston in at quarterback. So it's crazy to think about that. It ended up being a 1-score game where you needed a great play by Jared Goff, which it was, to maintain possession of the football, be able to get in victory formation and take a knee. 9 minutes earlier, or 8 minutes earlier, Jerry Jacobs is lining up a throw from Jameis Winston on a 3rd and 13, and he's looking to take that back to the house. I think it would have been his 4th interception of the year. The NFL's crazy. It's what they want. They want drama, and they got it today with the Lions jumping out 21-0. Saints able to close. But in any case, look, this was a day where the Lions looked dominant initially, and the defense was playing at a super high level with super speed. And then the offense was sharp initially. They'll cover their first possession. The run game, I thought, was brutally dominant at first. I mean, you can see from the play charting here, all runs except one pass, which was the 27-yard catch. It was a 12-yard catch to Jameson Williams against man. I thought Paulson Adebo got beat 4 or 5 times today. Now, he did make a great play on St. Brown in man, a ball where St. Brown's open. I believe it was fourth quarter, a possession where the Lions had to punt. In this case, after the Lions ran on 3rd and 7 for a first down to Montgomery, 10 yards, 1st and 10 from the negative 32. They bring Dan Skipper in and go jumbo 12, so you got an extra offensive lineman on with LaPorta. Montgomery goes for 4 on the ensuing play, the 2nd and 6. Jameson Williams beats Adebo, man, for 12 yards. Goff got sandwiched between 96 and another defensive lineman. I thought 96 played fantastic today. Gibbs makes a great cut to the outside and nearly busts it up the right sideline for a touchdown. This case, he ends up being tackled at 2 for 36 yards. And Montgomery ends up outside wide open, behind 73, who makes a huge difference in this run game. You can see the difference when he's there versus when he's not. This was a dominant drive, if you ask me, for the Lions. And when you look at the fact that they didn't turn the football over and they were able to run the ball like this, I think it's very possible this game could have been a far larger margin than it ended up being. Unfortunately, the defense for the Lions, would not comply in terms of getting stops in the second half. Talk about the defense for a moment before I come back to another important possession in the first half. I thought there early in the game they were playing downhill. I thought they were playing downhill. Linebackers, Jack Campbell, defensive line, getting after the quarterback. To me, it seemed like there was more pressure in the first 4 possessions this game than I remember seeing in the last 3 or 4 games combined. You guys feel free to let me know if I'm misremembering some moments where there was more pressure. Of course, Aiden Hutchinson had the sack to finish the win against the Bears. Other than that, I thought we were talking about long stretches where there's very little pressure on quarterbacks. Bruce Irvin is a significant upgrade in terms of talent as a pure pass rusher than the other guys that are playing on that right side as the outside linebacker D. And I thought his win for his sack today was impressive. He beat the left tackle with like a nifty little hand swat to win on the top side or the outside, as Hutchinson won underneath on a stunt from the opposite side, the left-hand side of the Lions defense. And then Irvin, of course, puts Carr out of the game on a brilliant inside stunt on a 3rd and 17 with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I understand that Irvin can't spike the quarterback to the ground in the modern age of football. He can't. But for me, as someone rooting for the Lions to be able to generate more pass rush organically, he looks like a serious upgrade in talent. Feel free to let me know what you think of that thought there. I just can't wait to see how he progresses and fits in with the defense, although he'll certainly be fined at this point for the hit on Carr. Still a brilliant move to get him on the field. Though the defense was flying around early, you got the interception by Brian Branch on the opening play, I should say, and then stops on the next 3 drives by the Saints to the point where the Lions are up 21-0. To the point where the Lions are up 21-0. Here's some stats for the New Orleans offense. New Orleans had 1 first down and only 26 yards on the ground on, I believe, 6 carries. Really nothing had been generated consistently by the Saints offense early. Campbell was involved in a bunch of plays. I thought Hutchinson was really disruptive on the first 2 or 3 possessions. He had a TFL on a run by Jamal Williams. Hutchinson and Campbell combined for the TFL. Jalen Reeves-Maben played well in that coverage against Kamara early. He was also involved, I think, in a pass breakup on a 3rd and 9 from Carr to A.T. Perry, I believe the Saints' 3rd possession. But the Lions' defense faded. It's fortunate they got a stop near the end of the second quarter because at that point the lead had been cut to 21-7. Now, at this moment, none of us, myself included clearly, knew that the defense was going to get shredded in the 3rd and 4th quarter. But it's a very fortunate stop near the end of the second quarter that allows the Lions to push the lead to 24-7 at the half because they needed every point they could get. You got a short run by Jamal Williams on a 1st and 10, and then Jacobs covers Olave on a speed out for a short gain, like a 4-yard gain. So it's a 3rd and 3 from the Saints' own 17. Now, I got to give Reeves-Maben credit. He hadn't been on the field a lot on defense at all. He read the speed option brilliantly with Carr and Kamara working to the left, the boundary. Reeves-Maben doesn't make the tackle. He dives for Kamara, who breaks out of the tackle. But then Barnes finishes him off. If you recall, it was the play where one of the line judges got hurt on the sideline, and there was a stoppage in play for about 5 minutes. I thought it was a brilliant play by Reeves-Maben, even though he didn't get credit for the tackle. That stop gets the Lions the football back and then sets them up for the 7th possession, where they go up 24-7, I believe, pretty much the last play, it's next to last play of the second quarter. Great 3rd and 5 conversion to LaPorta. It's the 4th play down from the top for you guys. 3rd and 5 from the -35. And he's lined up at outside receiver, I believe, in man. Wins against man, like near the right hash. Goff, to me, threw the football before LaPorta even turned inside. So there's a lot of trust there, and he made a big play. Ends up being a 2nd and 10 just before the 2-minute warning. I did not really like this draw play. I thought Ben Johnson was a little bit too committed to the run game in a couple of occasions, and I'll talk about another one here a little bit later. But that's his MO. That's what he does, and he believes in it, so it's fine. It's working, clearly. He scored 33 points. Sets up a 3rd and 7. One of the 2 catches that St. Brown had, he beat Adebo pretty cleanly, I thought, to the right side. 24-yard gain. They end up with a 2nd and 1, about a minute left. They bring Skipper in again for a jumbo 12, 2 tight ends where he's the second tight end. Montgomery gets the first down. Unfortunately, not able to get in the end zone. The 3rd and 7, St. Brown tips it near the front of the end zone, or maybe a yard into the end zone, I should say. To me, it looks like Donovan Peoples-Jones is actually probably the intended receiver in the back of the end zone. I think he's open. Were it not to get tipped, it's possible that DPJ could catch that football. I'm not sure. I haven't necessarily seen a bunch of angles. Nonetheless, it's an instance, I thought, of Goff being flushed out, moved out of the pocket by pressure, and playing with a little bit more poise, ball security, and awareness than maybe we have seen in the last couple of weeks consistently. Didn't get the touchdown, unfortunately, but was able to get a field goal to go up 24-7, and really needed every one of those points because the defense just fell apart. Very fortunate to get the fumble in the second half when Carr's like reverse pivot. First play of the fourth quarter. Very fortunate to get that fumble. Carr's reverse pivot out of there is a little slow, and the left guard Hurst, who actually used to play for the Ravens, moves in and really forces the fumble. But here's the defense numbers from a Lions standpoint in the second half. By possession first. Saints go 10 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. This is when Carr converted a 3rd and 12 to Olave up the left sideline. He had beat Jacobs, who was in press man, pretty cleanly. He actually beat him twice on the route. Kamara's 2-yard touchdown run cuts the lead to 24-14. After a 3-and-out by the Lions, Saints go right downfield again. 7 plays, 62 yards, touchdown. Carr hit Olave on the first play of the drive on a play action for 28. Then an under center play action boot to Foster Moreau, who I'm glad to see is playing. I know he had some health stuff in the offseason. He's an underrated tight end, if you ask me. But in any case, Taysom Hill eventually punches that one in to close the Saints within 24-21. They did have the fumble drive, so 1 play, 0 yards, but then 12 plays, 75 yards for a touchdown to close within 33-28 with 7.5 minutes left in the game. Not trying to run down Aaron Glenn, but facts are facts. Second half numbers on the defense. 38 plays, 254 yards allowed, 6.7 yards per play, just a little under 6.7 yards per play after halftime, including the Saints being 4 of 5 on third downs. Whatever the Saints changed, or the Lions did or didn't change at halftime, it did not work out in the favor of the Detroit defense. I know Aleem McNeil, really seemed to tough it out. He came off, I think, twice, walked off hurt. Romeo Okwara had a sack. The play before, Bruce Irvin put Carr out. That was cool to see someone else other than Hutchinson get to the quarterback. 2 different guys, Irvin and Okwara. Like I said, Reeves-Maben played well. I think Jack Campbell played really well at inside linebacker. I believe he finished with 9 tackles, led the team. Brian Branch seemed quite active to me. Nonetheless, even though those guys played well at times, especially early, defense gave up 254 yards in the second half. Whatever Aaron Glenn was doing and the players were trying to execute just wasn't working. One complaint about the offense I do have, and the double reverse call to Jameson Williams was amazing. Credit to Ben Johnson, because it takes advantage of the Saints' reliance on man free. So you get the clear out from the initial reverse, because Jameson Williams' defender, the corner, the initial guy who got the ball, I should say. I think it was Raymond, but I could be wrong. His defender runs with him. So that clears out that space that Jameson Williams eventually runs onto. I thought Daryl Johnston did a nice job today as an announcer. I don't know who the other guy was, but I did not like him. It seemed like he didn't know the Lions team at all. But in any case, Johnston covered it well. I believe it was the center, Glasgow, went out and got Jameson Williams' guy in man, I think it was Alontae Taylor, to clear the way. That was a great play call. It put the Lions up 33-21. I'm going to refer to the possession before that was incredibly frustrating for me. This is late third quarter, about 3 minutes left in the third quarter, something like that, maybe 3.5. You get a long pass from LaPorta, on a 1st and 10. It looked designed. It looked like a designed route where Goff knew that LaPorta was going to break open. For 48 yards, beautiful setup, beautiful route. Seemed like they knew it would be open, like I said. You got a 1st and 10 on the Saints 14. And I'm a huge fan of Ben Johnson. But you're ahead 24-21. Your defense has been ripped the last 2 possessions, meaning that the Lions defense has been shredded for 2 touchdowns and 17 plays. You need a touchdown for my money at that point, or at least that's what my thought. And the 3 straight run plays kind of confused me. The first one, Montgomery's been running hard. Okay, it's 1st and 10. He gets 1 yard. Gibbs on the down, I call it down sweep. I don't know what the Detroit media and such are calling it. Down sweep into the boundary. The timing is a little staccato on that one by design, and I think it works out in the Lions' favor. In any case, on this particular play, he's able to shake around the end when it looks like there was really nothing there. Still get 4 yards. Fine. 3rd and 5 from the 9. And another, I can't defend the run play to Montgomery there. You got to give yourself a chance to score a touchdown when your defense at that point is, we have the benefit of hindsight. I had the benefit of hindsight in this reaction video, clearly. But you have to give yourself a chance to score a touchdown on one of those 3 plays, and I did not think Ben Johnson did that. Seemed to be 3 safe play calls, I should say. You did go up 27-21, and I do understand that LaPorta was off the field on that 3rd and 5 from the 9. I think he'd been poked in the eye or something like that, but there's enough talent out there. There's enough receiving talent out there on that 3rd and 5 to justify throwing the football in the end zone or trying to get the first down with something. And the Saints were not fooled by the previous 3rd and medium run play, I didn't think. I think it was near midfield earlier in the game. It's tough for me to support it as much as I really enjoy Ben Johnson's play calling, the way he sets up the game. And I am obviously lagging behind in understanding everything he does. That sequence just doesn't make any sense to me. Nonetheless, the opening flurry is now a positive memory because the Lions were able to hold on, win the game because of Goff's clutch play in the end, and the one defensive stop that they did get in the second half. That 21-0 lead in 7 minutes was a whole heck of a lot of fun to watch. It's difficult to change mindsets for probably some of us, for myself. It is, and think about that. But I was sitting here just smiling, enjoying what was happening because they definitely came out playing fast and hard on defense, weren't able to sustain it for 60 minutes. The run game clearly gashed the Saints early, and the pressure for me was huge. I believe in the first half, Carr was 7 of 12 for 84 yards and an interception. And to that point, the Saints only had 49 rushing yards on 14 carries, and 21 of those yards was Taysom Hill, who's just a dynamo. When they put him in there at quarterback, his ability to run the ball is just different from so many other people. You guys let me know what your perception is of that first 7 minutes, how much fun it was for you to watch, number one. Number two, if you're as concerned about the defense as I am, I know that they played quite well early. It really reminds me of the Chargers game on the road, 41-38 win, where the defense was able to get, I believe, 3 stops on the opening 4 possessions, including the Kirby Joseph interception on the sideline that was really forced by Alex Anzalone pressure and Justin Herbert. Other than that, though, I don't think they stopped the Chargers at all. This looks like the same thing to me. And then you think back to the Packers game. The Packers scored twice on the first 2 possessions. There seems to be some real vulnerability such that when things go bad for this defense, they really, really go bad. It brings me no joy to say that in the midst of a win that puts the Lions at 9-3, hopefully keeps them right in pace with the Eagles and 49ers, depending on who wins that game, because as I record this, they're still playing in the second quarter. You guys let me know if you were as impressed with LaPorta. Not just the catches, man. It's the blocking. The willingness to go block. Him and St. Brown, guys that catch so many passes, are willing to go out there and block in sometimes non-traditional ways for what receivers are asked to do now. I know LaPorta is a tight end, but he lines up at receiver enough for me to say, if the guy had gone to a different school, he could have been an ex-receiver. Feel free to let me know if you disagree with my assertion that Bruce Irvin is a huge talent upgrade. Had not seen him play football probably in 2 years, maybe 3. I don't know. Remember the last time I specifically saw him, but his burst and his get off to me looked like a guy that really the Lions need. The Lions need someone who can win over there, particularly his commitment to playing downhill, commitment to attacking on his track and his angle, and he's going to work his move, and it's either going to work or his not. But in this case today, the first opportunity he got out there, it worked. Brilliant move by the front office to bring him in. I wish they had addressed some other positions, particularly corner. I do think there's some talent out there for this team to look at, corner that's out on the market. in terms of a free agent. Appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of my breakdown, the plays I chose to focus on here, the first and seventh possession, where the Lions really set a tone on the first possession with the run game, and then seventh possession, fortunately able to go up 24-7 and give them the type of cushion to withstand the Saints' flurry in the third and fourth quarter. If you think other Lions fans would appreciate and enjoy this film or this reaction video to the Lions 33-28 win over the Saints, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.